I just want to warn everybody that this video is going to be a very long video. It's going to touch upon a lot of different topics of which I think are extremely important in running a martial arts school as a teacher and also as a student who joins a martial arts school to kind of understand the dynamics involved with running a martial arts school and why things are the way that they may be. Somebody sent me this very thorough email explaining his situation and sharing his experiences, and it's a very interesting, situation, very interesting life that he's living, and I asked his permission to see if I could share part of the experience, and he said that it's okay as long as he's kept anonymous. So I'm going to read through the email, the relevant aspects of it, and then I'm going to reflect on the things that he said. All right. I'm trying not to pick sides as far as his side or the teacher's side, but I just want to give my honest feedback on the situation because it's really relevant to my situation as well as a teacher. Okay, so he said, just a brief lowdown on my passion in life. I've been an athlete my entire life, competing and dominating in most North American sports such as hockey, basketball, baseball, and football, winning championships in every sport and having a promising career in whichever I chose. I ended up choosing to stop my participation in all of them immediately when I turned 18 years old and started having teams want to draft me. I was experiencing my own personal evolution and awakening, and most of my friends and family around me at the time thought I was insane for walking away from all the egoic competition and taking a year to find myself truly to the core of my being. Through this transformational period from about 18 years of age until I was 20, I found the practices of Zen meditation and martial arts. I also came across the teachings of the Tao. I've always been passionate about boxing since I was a child and looked up to the reflexes and movements of Roy Jones Jr. or Floyd Mayweather. Now that I have walked away from all other sports that were actually holding me back from finding my true self, I was able to dive into what I really am. I found a JKA Shotokan karate and kickboxing dojo in my hometown and started training in the martial arts under a sensei. He is an international kickboxing champion and a 4th degree Shotokan black belt. I was natural with my hands and my boxing right away, and my athleticism allowed me to fill in the gaps very quickly where I had holes in my game when it came to kicks, etc. I've improved quickly in the kickboxing classes and sparring. I had a natural passion for the art, so I wanted to try my skills in the Shotokan karate program. I also improved very quickly in my training. However, after only reaching orange belt, I found myself not enjoying the stiff, militant movements of karate. I understood all of the technique. However, I really am on a different path to become the best version of myself, and I had to listen to my body. I did not like moving in those ways. I found it inefficient with my energy for what I was trying to achieve as my end goal. I explained this to my sensei and how I feel that the karate training does not have too much to offer me when it comes to my style and expression of fighting. At first he was a little upset and was telling me that it was my ego that was stopping me. I disagree. However, he could not help to notice my skill, passion, and fresh outlook, theories, and ideas when it comes to knowing that there is not only one way when it comes to advancing in martial arts. Began creating my own following of friends and students from the dojo who enjoyed my outlook, passion, and energy that I brought to the dojo. So about a year ago, my sensei was going through some family difficulties, needed to step away from the dojo for the first time in 10 years to heal himself. He noticed what I had to offer and took me under his wing, offered me to take over the kickboxing program and give me a paid position in the dojo as lead instructor for kickboxing. If I did not step in and take this position, the business would have been in jeopardy. So I happily took it and have been growing my position and experience as a teacher and a manager ever since. However, it was not easy for me to say the least. I also been struggling with family and financial issues right up until this point, and when he offered me the paid position to take over the dojo while he went away to heal, I was living out of my car at the time period with my girlfriend who was 6 months pregnant. I did not mention that to him because I knew he had his stuff to deal with and I did not want to put extra burden on him. Also, this was the opportunity I was training and working for. This is what I do best, so I stepped in and ran the dojo for him for the next month. Hardly any food or water, usually a couple bananas a day and a few eggs if I was lucky. I would say a prayer before I get out of the car that I was living in to enter the dojo that I would have the strength to make it through the classes and cleaning. I was so grateful to have my own students and be teaching martial arts every day instead of being in some factory around here. I believe that is what gave me the focus to make it through the challenging time. And now here I am today. My firstborn is here now, and I managed to find myself and my wife a place to live through my work at the dojo. My sensei is back, and now I'm dealing with a new challenge that I'm facing. His old school sparring style was causing too many of the students to get severely injured. I mean, bad ruptured spleens from body kicks, facial reconstructive surgery on students and the sensei. It was borderline insanity, and it was not allowing us to grow better. It was stupid behavior from the ego, and it was breaking us down. There started to be complaints. Eventually, my sensei's business and reputation was at risk. I have been having a hard time lately because I seem to be the only person in the whole fight community almost who's not afraid to speak up on what is not working, and what it is not even right in any way. My influence in the dojo again has sparked another movement, and students are flocking to my classes because of my human approach and for the simple fact that they know they will better their skills under my training without getting hurt or made like they feel like they're less than. It is getting to the point where I seem to be pushing the boundaries so far in a positive new way that my sensei is beginning to feel threatened because he's having a hard time giving me credit for the change I've created for the better overall in the dojo. So that's my story. I apologize for the long ideas. I am very grateful and appreciative for the position I've earned under my sensei in my dojo. Everything is going very well when it comes to my relationship with my students. I am getting great feedback on my teaching methods. My sensei pays me a good amount per hour that I'm teaching and working. However, my path to always improving my skills and my martial arts prowess is more important than a comfortable opportunity. And the silly tension I'm feeling from my sensei now for improving his business not getting the recognition I deserve seems to make me feel strongly about branching out and searching for fresh relationships and a new teacher, because I have become his teacher without him being ready to realize it yet. So that's the the email, and I wanted to comment on that. I think it's a very interesting story, and I just feel that running a martial arts school is extremely difficult. First off, I think it's almost like you can't really have a real martial arts school unless it takes a lot of time. Like, I literally feel that you're lucky to find one good martial arts student a year, and you can't really make a living off of the martial arts because there just isn't enough people out there that truly appreciate the martial arts, and that's mainly because people a lot of times don't even know how to appreciate the martial arts, or they don't even know that it even exists. Other aspects is people are so busy with their lives that they're always chasing after money to make money, and there's really no money in the martial arts. There isn't. It's a passion that people go towards out of love, and everybody needs to make a living, and people will a lot of times have to find other ways to make money in order to continue their own personal practice in the martial arts. I see that pretty much every single martial arts school out there might have started as a martial arts school, but through the test of time, they either go away from their values and then they're no longer representing the martial arts, or they go out of business, or the teacher is forced to find creative ways to generate income to support the school. And that's one thing that I see that's very apparent. is that you can't really make a living off of the martial arts. You can make a living as a police officer, you can make a living as a firefighter, you can make a living as an accountant, you can make a living as a plumber, you can make a living as a store manager, but you cannot make a living as a martial arts teacher. You know, people will have to find a way, another way to make money in which, they are not put in a position where they're going to jeopardize the value of the martial arts. So you might have people that are making a living as a fight coach, to training and coaching people how to fight, how to hurt people, how to win tournaments and all things like that. But that's not martial arts, and as for myself, I make a living like as a personal trainer. Like even though I run a martial arts school, it's still not to the point where I could actually make a living off of it and that's all I have to do. No, I gotta find employment as like a personal trainer and basically like a service industry, like an industry that's based on service, serving the community or serving the public of what, they need. It's like a personal trainer and the services can be exploited for profit because you're there, to help people on physical development as far as greater fitness and health. But a martial arts teacher is just so much more than that. A martial arts teacher is like a spiritual guide. That's one main thing. And he teaches people how to defend themselves, and he also teaches people how to be healthy and become fit. He's like an integration of many different professions all in one. And the martial art teacher needs to be in control at all times. He needs to be truly a master. He's somebody who's like, it's like the only industry, if there even is an industry, where he's in full control and there is no such thing as the customer is always right. If actually in this situation it's the martial arts master is always right, the sifu is always right, and you can't really generate much profit with that philosophy because everybody in this culture, in the business world, is so accustomed to living under the guidelines of the philosophy of the customer is always right, that you cannot allow the customer to dictate the martial arts school and turn it into what they want it to be. The martial arts school is what it is, and the martial arts teacher has to find the right students that fit with the school on a spiritual level. It's not even about a physical level because that could come, and it's not even about a combative level because that will come too, but it's on a spiritual level where there has to be like a special connection, and as I stated, that's something that doesn't happen often, and it takes a lot of time to gather up the individuals who are truly a representative of the school's values and its philosophies. So during the time of locating these students, the martial arts teacher has to find a way to make a living. So you will have, martial art teachers that might be police officers that run the school on the side. Like my old sifu, he's an accountant and he runs his martial arts school on the side. There's a popular guy on YouTube who has a YouTube channel for the martial arts, and he's a police officer and he's running the martial arts school on the side. I used to be a police officer and then I would teach on the side. I never had like a real business, but I just teach a few people here and there on my own. Now I'm no longer a police officer and I'm running the martial arts school full time, but it's not truly a martial arts school in its entirety. I might have 30% of the place is a martial arts school, and then 70% of the place is geared towards customer service and being a personal fitness trainer. Bruce Lee attempted to run a martial arts school full time, and he even opened up multiple school locations. I believe he opened 3 locations, and then eventually he decided that things were not working the way that he planned, and then he ended up getting into film, and he ended up shutting down all 3 of his schools before getting into film. So he even knew that it takes so much time that he knew that he didn't have the patience to wait for all that. Bruce Lee, you notice that Bruce Lee wasn't like Yoshiba, the founder of Aikido, who lived until he's 80 or 90, whatever the case may be, who had all this time to develop and share and promote his own art, which he labeled Aikido. Bruce Lee didn't have that type of luxury. He didn't have that type of patience. So he decided to get into film in order to spread his art. And it's like every single martial artist has to find another way to make a living. Jackie Chan is an actor. That's how he makes a living. And martial arts is his passion. Bruce Lee was an actor. Martial arts is his passion. Jet Li is an actor. Martial arts is his passion. Donnie Yen's an actor. Martial arts is his passion. So martial artists, in order to truly promote the real values of the martial arts, have to find a profession that is not going against the way of the martial arts. But they cannot make a living off the martial arts. Nobody I've seen has really done it. Even for myself, I'm attempting to do it, but I'm really making a living as a personal trainer. And then because I get help from other outside sources, such as my parents and my wife, they contribute towards me being able to continue to teach full-time without having to worry about financial struggles too much. So I think that's one thing that needs to be clarified, is that a martial arts school, to have a true martial arts school, it cannot even financially support one person. So it's almost, if it cannot support one person, then obviously it cannot support 2 people. It cannot support 3, and so on and so forth. In order to generate the amount of revenue that's required to support one individual, and then another individual, and then more on top of that, it has to become corrupted in some form of another, in which to no longer represent the martial arts, in which to become something else, in order to generate the revenue necessary to support an individual's household expenses or personal expenses. So a martial arts school may turn into a fight club, or a cardio kickboxing gym, or whatever the case may be. It comes into something else, a daycare center for children with belts. It becomes something else other than martial arts in order to generate the profit necessary in order to support somebody. And when that happens, it no longer becomes the martial arts. And that's what happens. That's like all these big name styles out there that are very well known, by a lot of people that you could join, and there's a lot of people involved. It's not really the martial arts. It's just like a very corrupted version of the martial arts. So it could be like cardio kickboxing, it could be taekwondo, it could be karate, it could be BJJ, it could be MMA, it could be boxing. These are all examples of, other than the cardio kickboxing, it's just all examples of a competitive nature in the martial arts, to develop fighters. And yes, if you open up a place to develop fighters, you can make money. If you open up a place, a cardio kickboxing club where it's just designed to help people lose weight, you can make money. Because that's what the people are stuck on. They're stuck on losing weight, or they're stuck on fighting, or just basic exercise, So that's one thing that needs to be understood, is that you can't really, you can't really make a living off of the martial arts. Every single martial artist has to find a profession of which they're happy with, where they can make money, and then the martial arts becomes like their primary hobby or their passion, that's kind of free from this the constraints of being worried about your financial situation because of the martial arts. So I got a really good martial arts friend that I trained with in college. He's a pilot. That's how he makes his money, and he trains martial arts on his own as his passion. Got another friend, that's a good martial artist that I met in college. He's a firefighter, and then he trains in martial arts as his passion. So, some people that I train here, one of the guys that I train, he works for the Postal Service, and he trains on the side of the martial arts as his passion. Another guy that I train, he works for the public transportation, so that's how he generates his income. So then basically everybody that comes in here, they're not worried about making money from the martial arts. They're here to enjoy the training for what it is. But as soon as money gets involved and you feel like you need to gather up students in order to make a living, it ends up corrupting the values of the martial arts, because then you start obtaining people that maybe aren't the right fit for the martial arts, and you just basically you in order to be a real martial arts school, you need to be able to discriminate who you allow through the door and who you don't. But in business, you're not allowed to do that. Like, McDonald's can't open their doors and be like, okay, we don't serve black people. Oh, we don't serve white people. Oh, we don't serve gay people. Oh, we don't serve Chinese people. No, it's like, whoever's willing to pay for that food has to get the food and have to get the same quality of food. You can't just give it to everybody. You can't just prevent anybody from getting it just because of some things you don't like about them. That's how a business is supposed to be. But a martial arts school is more so closer to a firearms dealer, where it's very, they got to go through a strict background check before they're allowed to purchase the gun. And anytime where there's more strict background checks, it's going to start limiting their potential of profiting. Because rather than selling guns to 300 people without checking their background, they're forced to check their background, and rather than selling it to 300 people, they only end up selling it to 100 people. So then they lose 2/3 of their profit because of the background checks. And that's essentially how a martial arts school is supposed to be run as well, is, you have to obtain the right people that are a right fit for the school. You can't just let anybody in there, But another thing that I want to mention about the person's email, kind of stood out to me, is that I think one of the biggest challenges of running a martial arts school is the business aspect of the martial arts. It's not really even about the sparring. It's not even about being fit. Sometimes it's not even about the spiritual aspect of the martial arts, but how to properly run a business. And I think a lot of people have struggled with that. And really, regardless of how much you may disagree with the owner of the school, when it comes down to it, the person is still the owner, and that still needs to be respected. You know, the person may be doing a lot of things that you might not agree to or agree with. You know, he might beat his wife at home. He might beat his children. He might be gay. He might be materialistic. You know, he might be an alcoholic. He might smoke. He might do drugs. He might get in street fights outside of the school. You know, he might have gotten arrested. You know, he might steal things. I mean, there's so many things about him that you may not like. But the fact of the matter is, if he's the owner, he's the owner. And if you're a customer, if you're a student, then you have every right to decide to not learn from this person if you feel that he's no longer representing an example of which you wish to strive towards. You know, you have every right to disengage from the school for whatever reason. And then also, if you're employed at the school, in every single business and also in the military and also in law enforcement, there's always this thing called the chain of command, where you might not agree, but you still have to follow the head person. You might feel that you're more fit than a person, but it doesn't matter. He's the boss, you're not. You know, you might feel that you're more intelligent than the person. Doesn't matter. He's the boss, you're not. You might feel that you're more spiritually advanced than the person. Doesn't matter. He's the boss and you're not. That's how the chain of command works, and no matter what industry you're talking about, no matter if you're talking about the martial arts industry, no matter if you're talking about the restaurant industry, or no matter if you're talking about, you know, the accounting field, whatever field that you're talking about, there's always going to be somebody that's in charge, that's going to tell you what to do. You know, and, you know, there's going to be many times when you just don't agree with, you know, what the person may tell you to do. And that becomes the conflict almost everybody encounters when they reach, you know, when they become employed in whatever company. Is that I feel that almost everybody thinks that they know better than the person that's in charge of them. And it's this type of conflict which is the biggest challenge. You know, it's this type of conflict that is the biggest challenge, you know, for any business. You know, and you know, I had similar things, you know, experiences. You know, I trained somebody, you know, who really had a big ego when he started, and I tried to get control of it, but then I wasn't. It was just ended up being hidden and masked. It was never really overcome. You know, he never really got better. Like, he basically just kept the ego hidden, and then eventually just came back out again. A very controlling and dominating ego that destroyed our relations. But it's like, if you got two people that want to be leaders, but yet the person that's supposed to be the follower below, or like the assistant refuses to be the assistant and wants to become the top person, there could be so much conflict to the point where it could just never work, and they end up having to go their separate ways. Basically, it's like there can only be like one president of the United States. There can't be two. There's one president and there's a vice president. The vice president can't, you know, mistakenly believe that he deserves to be the president, and then fight for the president position when that's not for him, So, in this situation, it may become a time where you feel like you need to do your own thing, but when you try to do your own thing, there's going to be a lot of other struggles involved as well. Like operating and running your own business or running your own martial arts school is certainly not an easy thing to do. Like, you may feel that you might be able to do it yourself, but you really can't. Like, you might not be able to need the help of this person because you guys disagree in whatever, but you still need the help of other people, no matter it be your friends, your family, your wife, your parents. Like, they will help you in other ways with no attachments, where they might give you some money to start off in the business and things like that, or you might have to get another job to save money in order to jumpstart the business. So then you're getting help from another employer who has nothing to do with your plan, who's basically helping you find work to save money in order to start your own business. So there's just a lot involved, and I could see both sides of it, because I just went through it myself not too long ago. And the fact of the matter is, I put so much of my life and energy into getting to the point where I am right now that I will never allow just anybody off the streets to come in and overtake what I've spent so long to create. This is one of the reasons why the martial arts, especially in the Chinese martial arts, it's only supposed to be shared within, like, the blood, the family. If you think about it like this, it's like having a family-owned business that took like many years or decades to develop. You can't just let somebody come off the streets and overtake the business of which your family created and maintained and developed for like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's like stuff like this goes through the bloodline. It's kind of like Bruce Lee, and the money that he created or the money that he generated is not just given to strangers. It's like, the rights of the money in his estate is given to his bloodline, to his family. And there's a lot of money involved. If you saved $1 million, chances are you're not just going to give it to a stranger in the streets. Chances are you're going to give it to your son, your daughter, your wife, if you happen to pass away, your parents, your siblings. And that's kind of how the martial arts school goes as well. You're going to pass it on to the people of whom you could truly trust, where they're bound to you, not just because they have a liking towards you because you're nice to them, but because you guys are actually bound by blood, and you're even bound by name. Like Bruce Lee, Linda Lee, Shannon Lee, Brandon Lee, you're bound by name, you're bound by blood. So there might be conflict amongst you two during a certain period of your life, but no matter what the conflict is, you're still family. This person's still your sister, this person's still your brother, this person's still your parent, your mother, your father, your wife. You know, like that's what family business is. That's what martial arts school that's created is supposed to be passed on through the family. And to have somebody coming off the streets to become part of that family, it just doesn't happen overnight. It's just something where it happens through a lot of time and going through a lot of struggles together. And also, like, just shared values where you spend so much time together that you just end up becoming alike. You become like very similar. So then it's like, then for you to run the business, it's almost like the owner doesn't even have to be there, because what you say and what you know is just like what the owner would say and what the owner knows, because you guys are just so in tune like that. And I think part of the problem is when you're studying the teachings of Tao, you're studying the teachings of Zen meditation, those philosophies go against a lot of what karate would be trying to represent, or a lot of what kickboxing would be trying to represent. Is going against the culture and what the culture represents. It's going against what makes money. And when you have that conflict from the very beginning, then basically there just comes to the point where you just realize that, hey, I don't think that this place is the right place for me. I either have to create my own place, my own school, my own business, or I have to join a school or of which holds similar values to mine, if not the same. It's kind of like a Buddhist monk stepping into a Catholic church. I mean, that place is not for him. He's meant to be in a Buddhist temple. It's kind of like a person that practices Islam going into a Christian church. I mean, that place is not for him. He's meant to be in a mosque. So the philosophies of the person who emailed me goes more along the lines of the Chinese martial arts, or of like Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do, or Tai Chi, or Kung Fu, or Wushu. It doesn't fit well with karate and kickboxing. The philosophy is not the same, or boxing, or combat sport. There might come a time where you just have to kind of let go and move on and find your own path, your own way, or locate another school of which truly shares similar visions. I mean, but it doesn't mean that there's no hope. This person could potentially sit down and talk to the teacher, directly, and express his ideas and see if they could come to terms. Because basically, it's almost like you're asking to become like a business partner. And if he feels that you're worthy to be a partner of his, then he's going to do what is required to retain you and keep you there, so then you can help the school grow and profit. But if he feels that there's no potential for growth, or that by you staying is not really going to help the school but actually distract the school or hurt the school, where it's basically creating a conflict of interest, which is a common thing in all businesses, where it's always a concern, is that you can't have rival businesses work together, because it's not meant to be that way. Like a Burger King and McDonald's cannot be friends. They have to do their own thing. They can't work together. And even industries that may not seem like they're the same, there's still rivalry. Like McDonald's and Chipotle. They just can't work together because they're after the same market. And especially when there's money involved and you're trying to make a living off the martial arts and you're competing for customers. You need to make money, your teacher needs to make money, and then there's not enough students to help you both make enough money, and then you guys are fighting over students. That becomes a huge conflict of interest, and that's going to basically come to the point where the teacher realizes that you're not helping his business in any way. You're actually severely damaging his business. And his business might be, as it sounds, his business might be turning people into fighters. And that's how he makes his money. But then if you are the type of person where you're like, no, we shouldn't turn them into fighters, but we should turn them into philosophers, and then you're discouraging people from fighting, and you're encouraging them to read books. It's pretty much like going opposite of what he's trying to do to make money, and then it's going to really hurt his business, and he's going to be very upset that his business is failing because of this conflict. And then he's going to want to eliminate the source of the cause of these decreased profits because of this one student that is discouraging people to, from getting involved in fighting. So it's either his direction or your direction. And to me, it's probably almost quite apparent that it's not going to be your direction, because if he feels that he's the owner, then he's going to probably want things to be his way. But there still is a chance that you could talk to him to see if you could talk some sense into him to maybe change the direction of the school towards something more beneficial for the people, more beneficial for the society. But if he's stuck in his ways, then there might not be anything that can be done at that moment. And it might be a time to kind of seek out your own path and promote your own way. But I also noticed that as well, like when a student gets to a certain level and he's pretty well advanced himself, it becomes harder and harder to work together with the teacher, because the teacher, entrepreneur is the person that likes to do his own thing. And if a student gets to the point where he wants to do his own thing as well, then these two people are going to have a very hard time working together, because everybody just wants to do their own thing. And that's the thing that becomes one of the downfalls of like the teachings of Bruce Lee, for example, is that when you teach everybody to do their own thing, now nobody wants to work together. And when you don't work together, it's very difficult to succeed by yourself. It's extremely difficult. People work together in groups for a reason. Groups are very powerful, as long as the groups are, properly developed, and quality groups. Don't just think about one Bruce Lee, but imagine 5 Bruce Lees, 10 Bruce Lees, 20 Bruce Lees. Like, how can any of these successful companies be successful if they didn't work together? These big name giant companies like Google and Microsoft and Apple, like, how can these places possibly be successful if people didn't work together? Like, there's a huge benefit of working together. And like, when people get to a high level and they get to this mentality where they feel like they don't want to work under anybody, they want to be their own boss, and everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, that's like a recipe for disaster, because it's just, then you just have an oversaturation of businesses, and then 95% of the businesses end up going out of business because not everybody's meant to work independently. You know, sometimes working together as a team, as a family, sometimes that should be embraced because that is how you will reach your potential. Because even for me, even though I run my own martial arts school and some people address me by Sifu and the business is called FREDDIE'S Modern Kung Fu, like even though I have my own thing going on here, there's no way I would have gotten to this point if it wasn't for the hard work of my wife, if it wasn't for the hard work of my parents. You know, like, there's a lot of people that helped me get to where I'm at right now. I didn't just do this all by myself. You know, I mean, like, I guess what it boils down to is you can either be your own boss or you could just constantly be in that search to find the right boss that you respect enough to lead you. And if you find that right boss, then appreciate that person and become a good worker. Because as you become a good worker, then not only is it going to benefit the company or the business, but it's going to benefit you. So when it comes to the martial arts, if you can't find a quality teacher to lead you because maybe he has fallen off or he's just no longer representing a high level which you wish to strive towards, then you're going to have to kind of lead yourself until you locate a teacher that has gone beyond you, that you respect, of which can become a further guidance for you in your life to help you reach your potential. But you know, that's my feedback on it so far. But other things that I wanted to mention before I end this video is just kind of like, as far as my situation is concerned, I realized this, like, it's hard enough for me to make a living doing what I'm doing. It's hard enough for me to try to make enough money to support myself, to support my family. There's no way I can employ somebody else and pay a salary or even pay hourly. The way that I see it is that people that want to work with me, it's almost like they got to become like independent contractors. It's almost like personal trainers. Like, I'm a personal trainer, I find my clients, and then you could be a personal trainer and you could find your own clients as well. And then if you need a facility to train the people, then you could rent this facility out. And then by you renting this facility out, you're helping, my school grow. You're helping yourself make money. And as long as there's no conflict of interest, as long as you're not stealing my customers and I'm not stealing yours, then there's no conflict. Everything runs smoothly. But I could see that happening. But what I don't see happening is having two martial arts schools in one school. Like, there can only be one martial arts school. And if another person wanted to run his own martial arts school within this martial arts school, then it'd be like a separation where whatever they're teaching is not associated with what I'm teaching. And the agreement would be them paying like rent every month to have access to this facility so then they could teach what they want to teach. So it's almost like the community centers where somebody could be teaching karate 1 hour, next hour another instructor comes in, uses the same exact room and teaches kung fu. And then the next hour somebody uses the same exact room and then teaches tai chi. The next hour somebody comes uses the same exact room and then teaches boxing. It'd be something like that, where it's like there's no association between these two instructors, other than them sharing that space together. But the business name will remain the business name as advertisement towards the main primary instructor. I could see that happening. What else I could see happening is potentially a student being involved within the school and sharing my philosophies and promoting my philosophies and promoting the school as a whole, and then helping the school grow by bringing people in, and then maybe teaching his own classes, and then maybe under the guidance of me, and following the curriculum, teaching the way that I would want them to be taught, the students, and then maintaining that level of chain of command and respect towards the sifu, and then making their own money in accordance to the classes of which they are teaching, of which they have put in effort to retain their own, to expand the school by bringing in more people through their own efforts. But it's all business. It's all a business arrangement that really has to be clarified. And once it's clarified, then the more that it's clarified, the less problems that could occur in the future. But if these things are not clarified from the beginning, then there could be some serious conflicts that could destroy the entire relationship between teacher and student. But at this moment, I'm focused differently. It's like I'm not training any of my students to become instructors. I'm just having the students trained to become the best student that they can be, and I'm not encouraging them to make money in this industry. I'm telling them to continue to make money the way that they are currently making money, and just come here, train, and enjoy the training for what it is. I'm at the point where I could feel that I don't need any of my students' help to keep the school alive. If the school is having a problem, then I'll find some other way to make money in order to keep the doors open. But I do not want to rely on any students to bring in other students with the feeling that they deserve something back in return. Any student that brings in somebody else, it should be coming from their own heart, and they should expect nothing back in return. If they expect something back in return, then there's already going to be some conflict and issues. Because now it could be essentially these individuals trying to hurt the business by creating their own business within a business that is becoming a conflict between the primary location of the business. It's like you can't set up a business where people are competing over the same customers. Go back to the example of the Burger King and McDonald's. You cannot have the same businesses trying to get the same customers work together. So if there's conflict between the teacher and the student, or a conflict between the teacher and the assistant, these conflicts need to be resolved. If they are not resolved, then there's going to have to be, separation. And people are going to have to go their own paths. But that's what got me to think about this person's email. Running a martial arts school is extremely, extremely difficult. And I'm still trying my hardest to make it happen as far as like the real martial arts, where I got like not just a handful, but like a good amount of people, 10 people or more, who are truly representing like a high level in the martial arts, truly disciplined. Even more disciplined than what you might find in the army, or even more disciplined than what you might find in the police departments, or even more disciplined than what you might find in the military, where these people are just highly trained and everything's on point. That it's not just a fitness club, it's not just a daycare center for little kids that want to claim martial arts, but they're not doing martial arts. That it's not just a cardio kickboxing club full of people that just want to lose weight. No, that it's a real martial arts school with people that are highly trained, highly athletic, meditative, and just representing what the martial arts should be. You know, and that's going to take a lot of time. You know, and I'm doing my best to try to make that a reality. You know, to almost in a way bring like the Shaolin Temple type of seriousness and training to the modern city life in Chicago. You know, to have that disciplined life. And the business aspect is a challenge. It really is. You know. But, you know, a lot of time, a lot of money has been involved for me to get to where I'm at right now. And I hope to keep growing. I hope to keep networking and communicating with other people out there who share my values, who share my vision, who connect with me on a spiritual level. You know, the more people that I connect with on a spiritual level, I think the greater impact that we can have, you know, as a whole to the entire martial arts community, where we might be seen as the group of people in this world who are the only ones that refuse to compete, but rather promote something positive and creative within the martial arts. And then every single other group, from Muay Thai to MMA to Judo to Taekwondo to Aikido to boxing to wrestling, everybody else is competing. Everybody else out there to kill each other. But we're the only group out there that wants to represent extremely high level, but yet we don't want to compete. We want to share and be creative together and represent something positive in the martial arts. You can just imagine how different the martial arts community would be if Bruce Lee was still alive. Imagine the amount of opportunities people would have had to get into Hollywood because of Bruce Lee. Imagine the amount of schools that would be open that would be using Bruce Lee's teachings as a foundation to their school. Imagine how many more people would be practicing the Chinese martial arts or Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do. You know what I mean? Like, I think things would be very different when you have a leader that takes charge, that gives a direction for the people to say, hey, you know, this is not what we're doing. We're not doing this fighting. We're hurting each other. No, we're going to do it this way. You know, we're going to practice martial arts more intelligently, more safely, you know. But I encourage people out there to head towards their heart, head towards the way, and trust yourself. And as Bruce Lee would say, and Tupac would say, and Buddha would say, just be yourself. That's what I encourage people to do.